40,000 subscribers. The channel has just grown to 40,000 subscribers, which is amazing. I've been doing this for 2 years now. I decided to start this channel while I was working at a free-to-play game studio that was a lovely place to work with lots of nice people, but where the game design work I got to do wasn't particularly interesting. And since then it's grown to be this thing that 40,000 of you subscribe to, and even more people than that watch, which is amazing and bizarre. So this is a quick video to say thank you for that. I wasn't able to do my usual stream today. I was going to play through a bunch of your browser-based itch games that you'd sent into indiegameclinic.com, and my internet sucked, so I didn't get to do it. So instead, I'm going to pick out 20 of the browser-based itch games that have been waiting in my queue for a while, some of them for probably a year. So I'm going to pick out 4 of the games that I like the most, and I'm going to send the developers Patreon subscriptions and Discord access and all of that kind of stuff that people normally get from signing up to the Indie Game Clinic Patreon. Okay, we're going to start off with a space shooter roguelike. It's not titled yet. These guys take a few shots, which isn't great because you have to be like pointing at them to hit them. You know, it's not like Binding of Isaac where you can only shoot in 4 directions, but you can also shoot in the direction you're moving away from. You kind of have to turn towards them to shoot them, which is a little bit frustrating. You have to do a lot to convince me that your game needs active firing in rather than automatic firing. You're sort of making me fight stuff and you're making it a little bit of a skill test, but having to turn towards things to shoot them and then immediately turn away to move away from them is just a little bit irritating. So, Asset Bubble, will Girlypop. Be a baddie, hate on capitalism, make a million. They are my goals in life. Okay. It's going to be some kind of incremental game. Go to the shop. I like what's happening here in terms of the feedback and the visual design and the sound. There's lots of stuff to like. I don't want to sit here and click a button in the middle of the screen for any longer than a minute though, so good clicker, I guess. I don't really have any game design feedback to give you because I don't think these things are games. I think they're just like sensory toys. I mean, it does what a clicker needs to do. I don't really know what feedback you expect from me because you kind of already know what you need to do to make this into a bigger game. So, Smerk. Smerk is a roguelike auto-battler where your team of friends must generate ever-increasing happiness to meet absurd corporate goals. Time for some absurd corporate goal chasing. They've got a time icon and, I don't know, like a power icon. When a friend is dismissed, I gain 6 of this thing. Oh no, it's a client. This is a client that my team of workers is trying to make happy. So we're making a little grid of characters over here that generates power that then responds to the character over on the right, and then I'm not sure what these resources are though, and you don't have tooltips for them, so I mean, at least this one's a game. You know, if the theme of the game is that this is a workplace of corporate workers and we're hiring new people and like trying to do well at our job, the kind of art style and theme doesn't super tie to that. It's a shame because I like the aesthetics of this. And the gameplay seems to work quite fine. It's like reasonably easy to understand the gameplay, but I feel like the way that the game looks and sounds doesn't really match up with the thing that you're scoring points for here, which is like doing well at a job. The game is at least a game. I got to make some decisions and stuff like that this time. The things don't really line up in a way that works for me. I would like to play a goofy, chaotic game if the thing I was trying to do in the game was goofy and chaotic, but it's like a corporate management simulator. Neoshade Loopers. You've entered the tempered zone. Please left mouse. Seemed to lag a bit on the first couple of things I did and then stop, so I think like loading some resources in or something. Unplayably laggy in places, unfortunately. When people send me their games, I try and meet the game where it is, but the channel is called Indie Game Clinic, and in my mind, An indie game isn't necessarily like a hobby project that you do to learn how to make games. An indie game is a commercially released game that was made independently. That's the distinction for me. And I don't really know what to say about games like this, because it's like, yeah, this is a fine kind of proof of concept, but what's it going to be? And it's okay to send a grey box, but I don't really know what your goals are for this as a bigger game. This feels fine. I just don't really know what else to say about it, because I can't see what this is for. But this is just kind of a technical prototype for a third-person shooter. You need to work out something, some kind of gimmick that makes this a unique game and answers the question of why would a player that wants to exercise skill at a shooting game play this instead of something else? And this prototype isn't really answering that question. Starfish Room is a fast-paced survival roguelike action game. I instantly go for the gamepad on these types of games, because when you make your game look like a retro console title, it sort of communicates to players that it's going to be a game that was designed primarily with a gamepad or a joystick in mind. So that's my attack. I don't really understand what I'm shooting a row of. Oh, I just got like a kind of flamethrower of whatever that is. The dash doesn't feel like a dash. And it's crashed. I would say, like, if you're making a game with this kind of pixel art aesthetic, make sure you play it on a big screen with the game full screened, because everything in this is just so big that I can't really see what it is, and it would probably benefit from shrinking everything down and putting it in a black border so that the kind of very low resolution pixel art looks okay. But yeah, it's crashed, so I can't play any more of it. But the three different moves that you could do didn't feel very different from each other. I got an instruction to throw a bomb. It did not throw a bomb, so we're moving on from that one. Okay, Herb by Herb. A game about herbs. Controls. Tap or click to drag, leave to drop. See, that's the level of control complexity I want in a browser-based game. What a lovely little person and a grumpy little cat. Click on Herb Box to generate more herbs. Sort the herbs in order, check the hints, best wishes. Oh. How do I... Oh, I'm putting them down there. Okay. So that's wrong. I put them in the wrong order there. So we're going to swap the green and the red one. Okay, that's still wrong, I think. The problem is, if you think of the game that this is based on, there's a very visual kind of way of memorizing your previous tries. You know, just show it, just for people that have been disadvantaged in life and never got to play Mastermind, the challenging game of logic and deduction. You know, it keeps a visual record of what your previous guesses were, which feels easy and fair to be guessing and then being told, no, you got this wrong. This is telling me 2 things are in the wrong place. So I know I only need to move 2 things. And now 4 things are in the wrong place. So these 2 were in the right place. And that means there were 2 other things in the wrong place. But these are the same thing. So so if I put these the other way around, am I going to be right? Oh, the cat got angry with me because I got it wrong. I want to see this developer make more games, because this is absolutely gorgeous, but you're not communicating certain things the player needs to play the game. I'm not sure adding a timer works with all of the aesthetics here, because you're just making me panic about something. Keep getting told that your guesses are wrong until you get so angry and then you want to poke the lizard in the eye like that. Stinky lizard. Woke it up. Drag and drop people and put them into floors. Kind of looks like we're doing some Chants of Sennaar type homage in this. Construct. It's been so long since someone sent me a Construct game. Amazing. I was more of a stencil guy myself. Ah, interesting. So basically we've got like a algebraic logic puzzle of symbols and their relations to each other. That's really interesting. I feel like the theming is slightly problematic. It's like, hey, help organize the caste system of this planet. But we'll ignore that for now and just play a game. This person wants to be on level 2, so those are easy because they just tell us exactly where they want to go. This wants to be below the diamond heads, which can only be one place. No, you go there. The hitboxes feel a bit iffy for when you place the guys. These guys want to be above the purples, these want to be below the yellows, and these want to be above the reds, so they have to go up there. And these go here, and these go here. Basic puzzle here that really works. tickles the brain in a nice way. The interaction design needs to be dialed in a little bit, because there are times when I place some characters down and it acts like I'm knocking the other ones off, but they didn't really touch, and that feels really bad. It's like a core interaction of the game. It should feel a bit better. When I look at little games like this on itch, I'm always thinking about what's the bigger version of this, and that's because this channel is Indie Game Clinic and not Hobby Project Clinic. And so when I look at this, I think, what would you do with this game to make it into a larger game that someone would play for a longer period of time? You could gradually make the kind of frame into which you're placing these more complex, because at the moment it's basically just a number line of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And maybe this could be more of a like two-dimensional grid, or it could have things that are already on it, or there's lots of different things you could do to expand this puzzle. I like the kind of central idea of it. I get that it's drawing on Chants of Sennaar, which has similar kind of science fiction religious themes, but like organizing people into castes as a game mechanic, not something I find inherently pleasing or enjoyable to do. Demiurgio. Shape the land, guide the seasons, build a world worthy of the gods. This kind of like typography and these button styles, this is some like casual mobile looking interface. Hi, Jamjar here. Welcome to Demiurgio. We're going to try to teach you how to play the game. Your goal is to build a thriving world and gain the required score by the end of each year. That's a landmass. There's something strange going on with the graphics here, where these aren't rendering onto the thing. Sorry Demiurgio, you're unplayably buggy. Warlord's Penance is a fast-paced, short-form dungeon crawler that demands skill. Get good or perish. Okay. Very, very lovely art here. I think I'm supposed to start off as this character. We don't fight characters until we go into a combat encounter with them. And now we have press 1 to dodge enemy attacks. Everything here is so stylish, but it feels a little bit disjointed that we would use fully mobile first-person mode for exploring, and then go into combat where we dodge using an action here rather than moving around. Feels a little bit like those things don't fit together to me. Door is locked, you need a key. Okay, let's go and find a key. Love the way that the map and the interface are designed here. There's the key. Like, I used to play a lot of the old grid-based dungeon crawlers when I was a kid. Yeah, you'd kind of stop and do combat, but you had like a party of characters and you could click on them to trigger their different abilities. So it kind of made sense because the whole party was moving together, but here it's like you've given me a ranger character and I have to go and stand right next to a melee character in order to fight them so that they can hit me. Everything else about the way that this part of the game is built suggests I should be able to stand over here and shoot a guy through there. It's fine. I think this is a very stylish game in terms of how it looks and how it sounds. I would love to see that put into something where the pieces fit together a little bit more. I think doing this kind of turn-based game with like these rhythm mini-game type parts as the combat doesn't hit for me, because I see the main way you move around in the game and I sort of expect it to be a bit more of like a ImSim FPS type fantasy dungeon crawler like Ultima Underworld or something like that, or the early Elder Scrolls games, and it's just not that. Yeah, that's kind of disappointing a little bit for me. Okay, turrets and mirrors. So we've got a kind of little arcade game where we don't have our own projectiles and we have to bounce them back at things, I think. That's the general idea here. Probably starts off a little bit too chaotic. I think this is just a classic example of someone has been playing their own skill-based game for too long and they're basing the design of the game on what's fun for them as the designer to play, and that just means we start off with a game that is just way too difficult and frantic and overwhelmingly chaotic. And that means you don't onboard the player into like feeling good about their progress. You're just throwing them right in the deep end, and you need to spend a little bit more time gradually easing them in, make the difficulty much lower for at least 30 seconds, onboarding the player by making them feel good, by giving them some progress and allowing them to feel competent before you start challenging them. You really need to do that in a skill-based game, and in a game like this, you need to make moments like actually destroying the enemies feel good. You do not have enough feedback and juice on those things. I understand this might be a prototype, but you sent it to me. I'm going to judge it as an action game, and that means the moments where something bad is happening and the player is supposed to feel, oh, I should avoid doing that, and when something good is happening and the player is supposed to think, yeah, I did that, They need VFX, they need feedback, they need all of these things to communicate that that was a thing that you're supposed to do or that was a thing that you're not supposed to do. Getting some treasure or destroying an enemy is a delightful thing. Look at how it sounds, look at how it feels. Those enemies just disappear when I hit the thing back at them. It's not good enough. Hovershot. This is a game where you shoot to move, I think. Let's check it out. That feels fun already. There's something fun about turning the character around. Got squiddly diddly space squids. We've also got pickups in the environment by the looks of things, which is good because that encourages us to move around the space a little bit and maybe take riskier moves. It feels a little bit unintuitive to suddenly have to use the E key for something when this game has such a minimalist control of like moving around and shooting. If you gave them the information when they hover their reticule over it, and then maybe you need to shoot one of these things 3 times to select it, that would be okay, I think. The game is doing a very good job of signposting that it's going to be generous with content. We've got a little way in and we've already got a gun that feels very different from the first one. I kind of want to see this game escalate to a point where you're usually trying to deal with more than one thing at once, because that's what makes this mechanic really sing, I think. Like, you're trying to deal with actually shooting stuff, and then the dynamic of that plus the fact that you're being pushed around in suboptimal ways. And I think that really works a lot better when there are 2 enemies on, but I understand that you don't want to get there too quickly. So the pacing of the game feels right to me at the moment. We're on level 2 now, and we're starting to get to a point where there's more than one enemy at once, and it's a little bit more challenging. But when you're moving from place to place, it just feels like a massive time sink. And it's not like backtracking in a Metroidvania like Hollow Knight. People complain about it, but you're still kind of doing something that fundamentally feels cool and like you're a cool little guy running around jumping. Whereas because we're doing this kind of slapstick silly movement, the moments in this game where we have to just fly through empty corridors for a little while are quite tedious. But I do really like this. There's something great here. And they've really paid attention to detail in terms of like all of that juice stuff and the emotional impact that it's supposed to have. You know, yes, there are dangers to putting too much polish and juice into a game early on, but if you don't enjoy that enough to just do it for the fun of it, then I think maybe make a different sort of game, because action games are really, really reliant on that kind of stuff. I really like this one. It's one of the better things I've played in this session. Hovershot. We're at 40k now. I have something a little bit special planned for when we get to 50k, a little bit silly. Those of you who are Patreon members and are in the Discord will already kind of know what that is. But basically, I'm collecting images of the place where you make your game. So I want photographs of where you sit and work and do your game development. Obviously, nothing identifying or incriminating in those. Don't send me photos of your laptop next to your meth lab or anything like that. But yeah, I'm going to be making a montage as part of our celebration for when we hit 50k. So if you want to be part of that, there's a link down below where you can send stuff in, and it might become part of that montage. It's going to be fun. So hopefully we'll get lots and lots of pictures of your workspaces with your pets in and all of that kind of stuff. Now back to the reviews. Zahav, a simple arcade Souls-like that is meant to give players a fast-paced, difficult, simple and fun experience. I really dislike Souls-like as a piece of genre terminology, because some people use it as any game with corpse runs, including things like Death Howl, which is like a card game, and some people use it as like a difficult action RPG, and both of those people are right in a way that that's what makes a Souls-like a Souls-like. So this is an arena game, which means it isn't going to have corpse runs, is it? Because there's nowhere to need to like navigate back to get my stuff. And look, lots of attention to detail in what happens when you get hurt and what happens when you hit enemies, which is good. Even just that set of mechanics, the attack, the block, and the kind of, not really parry, but like hitting projectiles back at the enemies is a really nice little move set for a game like this. I think when you have pixel art of this fidelity and you kind of zoom everything in a little bit, it becomes very difficult to read what's happening on the screen. Bitcrush, a physics-based arcade game about falling in love. How charming. That nice tutorial style again, where it kind of forces you to put your fingers on the buttons. Am I pressing the blue one? It's really floaty and hard to control on purpose. Is this supposed to simulate like a character trying to call someone up and they feel nervous about it? Is that what we're going for here? You win! I win! They're all going to be like different little 1-bit minigames. So cute. Right, we're moving in. We're moving in. I've got to get the bed upstairs. You win! Oh, my partner is over the other side. I've got to get to her. The art style is so lovely, and every one of these little minigame vignettes only uses spacebar and the directional keys. Girlfriend! I cannot reach you. The crowd is too viscous. I'm not going to play all of this. I think if you like the look of it, you should go and check this one out. But I don't want to kind of ruin it all on the stream. You know, I really, really like this. I want to see the rest of it. But if you like the look of it, go and play it yourself. There will be a link in the description. Tempus Locus, Portal Through Time. What if you could replay the past? Oh, is this going to hurt my brain? It is, isn't it? It's going to be a brain melter. Embark. So you got your own restart button, which has a really nice bell chime that it plays when you do it. Okay, so when I jump on that button, it changes to recording mode. Then I need him to go on there, and he's going to loop, and then I can open both doors. Got it. Okay, so that guy is going to leave the level if we don't get him to do something. Ah, jumped on his head. Danger! This is really nicely made. The pixel art is lovely. The idea is very well executed. Like, the pacing of the puzzles feels quite good. So I can do an L, and then can I do another L and record it so that they end up in a loop? Of like, I'm jumping between these things. And not onto my own head. But it's definitely the sort of game that I would really need to think about some of these puzzles. It's already hitting a point where the actual logic I need to solve this room and combining it with platforming is quite a lot to ask of someone. And I think if I wasn't trying to play so many games in one session, I would get along with it a little bit better. But that's really cool. Doesn't seem like it was made for a jam or anything. But yeah, go check that one out. That's Tempus Locus. Daimyo Reign, a real-time tactical grand strategy game. Select Satsuma with left button and build the cat castle. Is that who this is? Oh, that's the place. I think this is going to need a lot of work in terms of like the UI and getting things like typography and stuff feeling nice. Where you can kind of speed it up and slow it down like you get in a lot of Sims. I don't think it's a prominent enough which one you're in. It's very easy to be sat there in like the paused mode and not see what you're doing. Use the right button to send an army to Higo. I mean, they look tougher than me. I don't really want to do that, but if that's what the thing is telling me to do, then I'll do that. There's bits of the art here that are very cute. I love this kind of map waves thing done in pixel art, but the way that the actual interface is designed. First off, it's difficult to do this kind of stuff in pixel art because you're dealing with like camera zooms and loads of text and stuff. So unless you're literally going to go back to, I don't know, Romance of the Three Kingdoms games on the SNES or something and look at how a pixel art console strategy game is built in terms of the interface design, it's always going to end up looking and feeling a bit janky. You've made a game that has a lot of depth. I can open this menu and see there's a building chain, but none of these things are pleasing enough to interact with to make me want to play a game for the length of time required for me to need to know all this information. And that means that all of that depth will be wasted. Naturally, all of this is colored by the fact that I'm sitting working through lots of games in one go, but that's often going to be the case with browser-based itch games as well, is that people are not going to generally give the game as long. I'd love to give this a little bit more time and like find out what it really feels like to learn how to play it and get a bit deeper into it, but the time has just not been spent on the thing that needs to be good in order for me to have like a basic enjoyment of clicking around in those menus and finding out how everything in that game works. Oh, we have another samurai themed game. It's a Pico 8 game. It's kind of like Mario Run if you ever played that. Very frustrating though. Because when you fail a jump, you usually lose more than one level of progress. So like the stakes for failing one of these jumps back and forth kind of increase at different points of the level depending on how far you're going to fall down. Like the trade-off for what I get out of making progression in this game versus what I lose for like failing one little skill check is just too big. Interesting kind of as a rage game for sure, but it's definitely something that would fit it more into that category. Yeah, I tend to bounce off those quite quickly. I don't know why, you know, I've talked in other times about how if you're making a skill-based game, it's important to make people feel a little bit frustrated. That's part of the enjoyment, is overcoming that frustration. Rage games where it's like very difficult to master skill with very little room for failure, and when you fail you fall all the way down, like in something like Only Up or something. I don't have much tolerance for those. This is very cool though. It feels really nice. Those death animations on the enemies are cool. I really appreciate this one from a craft perspective. I think it looks and feels very nice. But it's just in that weird space. It's very pretty. The game feel and the animations are really nice. And that just makes me feel like it should be like a slightly deeper game than it is. Because I associate that kind of more rage gamey type approach to difficulty with games that look like they're just deliberately trying to make you angry. And this doesn't look like that. This looks like a kind of pretty little immersive game. Cool. Samurise does what it says in the title. You're a samurai and you need to rise by going upwards. See what they did there. This one is called Survive the Apocalypse. Select whether you are a man or a woman. So we've got a map. We're here. We can go to other places on the map. Doctor Woman, a self-proclaimed doctor, asks for healing you. I don't need any health. Haven't lost any health. So we're basically doing like multiple choice events across a map. Buy bread. We lose some money. We heal some hunger, but we don't need 2 hunger because we're only on 9 out of 10. Fame. We can lose fame to steal the bread. Again, I don't need the bread because my hunger's not there. I'm going to give him some bread. Try and be nice here. So I couldn't see there was another way to go up here. That might be a bit confusing for people because I've been to all of these and my sleep and my hunger is going down. I would maybe make a style of tile that shows you that there's something in that direction, because otherwise you're just kind of like randomly stomping around until you find it, which means that the player has less agency because they can't look at the map and see generally which direction they can go in. You can do 2 more damage, or you can have a skill point. I don't know what skill points do, but I'll have one. It kind of feels a little bit like it could have been a text adventure. There's a lot of interface here for a game where I'm not really engaging with anything apart from the stuff that we click here in the middle to make decisions. It's the kind of stuff that I would tolerate if it was a board game and I was playing it with my friends, because you're kind of like telling the story aloud to each other. But in a single player game, what you've got here is a game that is trying to do quite a few different things, and it's just not delivering on any of them in a way that is particularly exciting. You know, you've got combat, but it is just, do you attack, do you defend, do you run away, and then some random rolls, which works okay in like a board game or a tabletop role-playing game when you're playing with friends, because that stuff generates a little story which you can talk about as it's happening. In a video game, it's not really that engaging. And then as a kind of RPG or story game, there aren't many options here that really let me feel like I'm playing the role of my character. Are you gonna steal the man's bread or give him another piece of bread? It's just very clearly signposted good or evil choices. It doesn't feel particularly compelling in like a story game for an adult audience. Digital Audio Walkstation is a first-person digital audio workstation, so you can make music in it. And it's not a game, but I want to check it out anyway. Okay, so this is like the piano roll you would get in a piece of software like FL Studio or Logic. That blue one is making that tick sound, that kind of hi-hat sound. I've written briefs for music education games before, and I think there's an interesting question of how much do you constrain what this person makes so that it sounds nice? For example, if you've ever used Apple GarageBand, you can make these guitars in it that basically can only play in the key of the song, like these physically impossible guitars that don't have any bad notes on, and you can just hammer away at them and play whatever you want. This doesn't seem to do that, letting me place whatever note I want, and that means it's going to be quite hard to actually make something that sounds nice. And I think when you make something like this, part of your thinking around what the design goals are like, do you want to make it easy or hard for someone to make something that sounds good? Otherwise, you're just being like the game dev equivalent of the family member that buys the small child a really loud keyboard or drum set, and everyone else has to listen to that now. So I've been making music electronically for about 25 years, and that's what my song in this sounds like after 5 minutes. I do really like the physical interaction here of like picking up the notes and stuff and putting them on the grid. I think they need to have a little bit more visual variation. One of these is a snare drum and one of them is a hi-hat, and once they're placed, it's kind of hard to see from a distance. So I would have more visual variety in how the blocks come out and how they resemble the sounds that they're supposed to make. And then I would just lock the music to a scale so that it's much, much easier for someone to make something that sounds nice, because give people something like this and all they can do is make a horrible noise. It's kind of a funny gag for a couple of minutes, but I don't think that's what anyone opens up like a music making toy hoping to do. IGTAP, I think this is called. So we're doing little platformer time trials, I think. Oh, I see. The reward is W's, which is watts, probably. I think the idea is that we are generating power by doing platformer time trials, which is a really neat little theme. Incremental game, which uses a little platformer challenge as the click of the clicker. That's neat. I like that. And now we've got a clone on this level who is just going to jump around, repeating a ghost trail of my last run. They're like an automated wattage generator now. And it looks like there's another level up there, but we need the wall jump to get up there, which costs 700 watts. So you've got a really clear, sort of almost self-tutorializing game structure down here, where you see that you need quite a lot to advance, and in order to do that we're going to need to just keep building these clones and upgrading how much reward we get from each loop as well. Hopefully we'll get to that 700 quite quickly. There's a best time listed here, which sort of determines how fast the clones go through the machine. And one of the things I'm wondering is, when we get later on in this game, will we be able to do this faster, and then that will speed up how fast all of the clones in this machine accumulate more wattage. I just got the wall jump, and my first instinct is to use it to go up here and to do the next thing. But what if I use the wall jump in the first puzzle? Can I just do it way quicker? And now that machine's running really fast. How cool is that? So every platform puzzle in this game is designed to be done several times with different sets of upgrades, and then you get faster and faster at it, and that means that your fastest run ghosts that run through the level and generate your wattage get more and more efficient. Thank you so much for watching. I do this every week, usually as streams. Sometimes I edit it down to videos, like today when the internet crapped out on me. Thank you for watching, and good luck with whatever you're working on this week.